So, 20 years gone, just like that, ripped out of your shoulders, peeled off your skin, like someone hit rewind on the clock. Everyone dreams about it, don't they? To feel lighter, sharper, faster again. But here's the truth. Getting years back isn't about birthdays or candles. It's about weight. The weight you carried. The regrets, the bitterness, the exhaustion that aged you more than time ever could. Strip that away. And suddenly you're not older. You're not broken. You're not finished. You're dangerous again. Because youth isn't about years. It's about fire. And now you've got it burning in your chest all over again. Age is more weight than years. People love to count the candles, circle the numbers, measure their life by how many times the sun's gone around. But the truth, time doesn't age you, burdens do. Regrets, disappointments, bitterness, the grudges you drag like chains behind you. That's what bends your back, dulls your eyes, slows your step. You've seen it yourself. Two people with the same number of years, yet one looks crushed under life, while the other still burns with fire. It's not years that make you old. It's the weight you carry. Every regret adds a wrinkle deeper than time could. Every disappointment hangs on your shoulders heavier than stone. You keep piling it on, year after year, telling yourself you're just getting older, when really you're just getting buried. That's why so many people look worn out long before their bodies should be. It's not biology, it's baggage. They've been dragging yesterday into today, so long that tomorrow doesn't stand a chance. And the worst part, most of the weight isn't even real anymore. It's ghosts. Memories of mistakes you can't undo, words you can't unsay, chances you didn't take. You replay them over and over, as if torturing yourself somehow changes the past. But all it does is age you. Faster than the clock, sharper than the years. You think time makes you weak. But really, it's the way you cling to what's already gone. Look at the people who seem timeless. The ones who laugh like they're still young, who move like their body doesn't match the number on paper. What's their secret? They let go. They don't drag yesterday around like it owns them. They don't hold on to every scar like it's a curse. They drop the weight, and suddenly they're lighter, freer, younger than their years suggest. It's not magic, it's release. But letting go scares people. They cling to pain like it's proof they lived, proof they mattered, proof they fought. They think if they drop the weight, they drop their identity. But what they don't see is that holding on to it is what's killing them. It's what turns their spirit old, even while their body's still strong. The weight is what drains the fire, not the number of birthdays behind them. Age is the excuse people use to explain their exhaustion. They say, "I'm too old for this," when what they mean is, "I'm too heavy." Heavy with guilt, heavy with failure. Heavy with fear of repeating the same mistakes. But the moment they release it, really release it, they feel years fall away in an instant. Not because time reversed, but because the burden did. The body follows the mind. When the mind is heavy, the body crumbles. Shoulders slump, eyes dim. Skin folds under pressure. that has nothing to do with time. But when the mind drops the weight, the body responds. Suddenly you stand taller, breathe deeper, move freer. That's why people talk about feeling younger, not being younger. It's not the clock. It's the chains. Think about it. How many years have you actually lived? And how many have you just carried? That's the question that matters. Because if you've spent 20 years dragging the past, then those aren't years lived. They're years stolen. And when you finally let go, when you stop measuring life by scars and start measuring it by fire, you don't just feel lighter, you feel younger. Age is more weight than years, and the proof is all around you. People who gave up at 30, already old in spirit. People who kept burning at 70, still dangerous, still alive. The difference isn't time. It's the burden. And until you understand that, you'll keep blaming the clock for something the mirror in your mind created. Youth is fire, not a number. People think youth is about smooth skin, strong legs, fast reflexes. But that's just the surface. True youth lives in the way you burn inside, in the way your eyes light up when you see possibility instead of impossibility. The number on your birth certificate doesn't decide if you're young or old. What decides it is whether you've still got flames in your chest or just ashes. You've seen people in their 20s who look dead already, moving through life like zombies. No spark, no fight, no hunger. They're young by age, but ancient in spirit, because their fire went out early. They surrendered too soon, let life stomp out their passion before it even had the chance to grow. On the other side, you've seen people twice their age walking around with more energy, more curiosity, more rebellion than kids half their years. Why? Because they never let the fire die. They kept it fed, guarded it, protected it from the rain of disappointment. Fire doesn't care about numbers. It doesn't care how many times the calendar flipped or how many wrinkles showed up in the mirror. Fire only cares about whether you give it oxygen or smother it. Every dream, every risk, every moment you decide to fight instead of settle, that's oxygen. Every time you say, I can't. Every time you bow to fear, every time you drown yourself in routine, that's water on the flame. And slowly, you either blaze brighter or fade into smoke. That's why people misunderstand youth so badly. They keep trying to look young, to dress young, to act young, as if appearance is the secret. But you can paint fire on a wall. It doesn't mean there's heat. Youth isn't performance, it's ignition. It's the refusal to accept that life is just about surviving. It's the insistence on creating, on exploring, on staying curious even when the world tells you you're too old for it. The fire of youth is rebellion. It's the spirit that refuses to die quietly. It's that raw voice inside that keeps shouting, there's more. Even when everything around you says stop. And that's why some people stay young forever. Because they never bow to the script that says, grow up, settle down, stop dreaming, play it safe. They don't buy into that lie. They keep the fire alive, and the fire keeps them alive. You know what makes someone old? Not the gray hair, not the slow step, not the wrinkles. What makes them old is resignation. That sigh that says, "This is it." That quiet acceptance that their best days are behind them. That's the moment the fire dies. And once the fire dies, it doesn't matter if you're 20, 5 or 65. You're already old. The body follows the spirit. Without fire, even the youngest flesh decays faster. But when you carry fire, when you nurture it, when you keep it burning with purpose, risk, curiosity, and passion, time bends. Suddenly, you don't feel the years piling on. You don't feel the weight of the clock. You feel dangerous, alive, unstoppable. That's what youth really is. Not a number, but a state of ignition. And anyone who's willing to stoke the flames can claim it. No matter how many years the world says they've lived. That's why people envy those who still carry that glow. They can't put it into words, but they feel it. The energy, the presence, the intensity. It's not the wrinkle-free face they envy. It's the fire in the eyes, the spark that refuses to dim. Because deep down, everyone knows that fire is the real definition of youth. And once it's gone, you can put all the makeup and die in the world on yourself, but you'll never feel young again. Youth is fire, not a number. You can't fake it, can't buy it, can't trick the world into giving it to you. You either carry it or you don't. And when you do, no clock, no mirror, no gray hair can take it away. Letting go makes you lighter. Most people don't realize how much of their so-called age is just the clutter they refuse to drop. They drag along betrayals, heartbreaks, failures, like a bag of stones strapped to their back, then wonder why every step feels heavier. It's not time that wears them down. It's their own grip on pain. You hold on tight to what hurt you, as if keeping it close somehow protects you from being hurt again. But all it really does is weigh you down until you mistake exhaustion for aging. The truth is, letting go isn't about weakness, it's about survival. You can't keep adding and adding without breaking. Every memory you replay like a broken record, every what if you can't stop chewing on. Every person you should have released years ago. It stacks up until you're carrying more than your spirit was ever built to carry. And what happens when you're overloaded? You break down. Not just inside. Your body feels it. Your face shows it. You look older because you are older, not in years, but in weight. Think about the people who seem to stay light, no matter what life throws at them. It's not because nothing ever happened to them. It's not because they didn't suffer. It's because they refused to keep dragging their suffering into the present. They dropped it where it happened. They walked forward empty-handed, and because of that, they still have room for joy, for risk, for living. And when you have space for those things, you glow. You feel lighter, freer, younger. The cruel irony is that most people think holding on is safer. They cling to their scars like shields, telling themselves, "I won't let this happen to me again." They think remembering pain will save them from repeating it, but all it really does is chain them to the past. They're so busy gripping yesterday that they can't move into tomorrow. And what do you call someone stuck, unable to move forward? Old. not by number, but by spirit. Letting go doesn't erase what happened. It doesn't make you naive. It doesn't mean you didn't learn. It means you learned enough to know you don't need to keep holding the lesson. Like a burning coal in your hand, you carry the wisdom, not the wound. And the moment you make that shift, everything about you changes. You move faster. You laugh easier. You don't waste your energy guarding doors that have already closed. That's the kind of freedom that makes people look at you and wonder how you turned back the clock. But people resist it. They say, if I let go, I'll lose a part of myself. And they're right. But maybe that's exactly what they need. Because not every part of you deserves to stay. Some parts of you were built in pain, built in anger, built in fear. And the longer you keep them, the heavier you get. When you finally release them, you realize they weren't protecting you. They were aging you. They were the weight pulling you down, stealing years you didn't even notice slipping away. Look at children. They cry, they scream, they break, but then they let go. They don't store it. They don't hoard it. They don't drag it into the next day. That's why they glow, why they move through life with so much energy. They don't know how to cling yet. That's the secret. And the older we get, the more we forget it. We learn to clutch everything, to grip tighter, to refuse release, and we call it maturity. But really, it's the slow death of our fire. Letting go doesn't make you forget. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you light. And when you're light, you move differently. You see differently. You carry yourself differently. You stop wearing your pain like a costume. And suddenly, the years don't stick to you the same way anymore. You start living instead of dragging. And living keeps you young. Because the moment you put down what isn't yours to carry anymore, you find out you were never as old as you thought. You were just tired from holding too much for too long. Energy returns when regret fades. Regret is a thief dressed in memory, creeping into your mind, stealing your strength piece by piece. It doesn't shout. It whispers. It tells you to replay what you could have done, what you should have said, the chances you didn't take. And every replay drains you, like a leaking pipe that never stops dripping. Regret doesn't just haunt you mentally. It robs your body, your spirit, your fire. It makes you feel heavy, slow, older than you are. Because your energy is spent living in moments that don't exist anymore. Regret is clever. It convinces you that replaying the past is useful, that if you keep going over it enough, you'll finally unlock some hidden meaning, some secret fix. But there is no fix. The past doesn't bend to your will, no matter how many sleepless nights you sacrifice at its altar. All that sacrifice buys you is fatigue. You wake up every morning with less spark, less drive, because your energy is already burned out by ghosts before the day even begins. That's why people who live in regret always look tired. Not tired from life, but tired from carrying shadows. When regret fades, the body changes. It's like cutting a cord tied around your chest. Suddenly, you can breathe again. The weight lifts, not just emotionally, but physically. You feel lighter, because you aren't bleeding energy into the void anymore. What once drained you starts fueling you because your focus shifts. Instead of staring backward, you start looking forward, and forward is where the energy lives. You don't get sparks from replaying dead moments. You get sparks from chasing new ones. Regret feeds on your attention. The more you stare at it, the stronger it grows, and the weaker you become. It tells you stories of how good it could have been, how perfect it should have been, how different you'd be if only. And in chasing those stories, you bleed yourself dry. But when you starve regret, when you refuse to keep feeding it your attention, it shrinks. It fades. And in its place, your fire starts to burn again. That energy that was locked in chains of what if finally returns to fuel your what's next. It's strange, isn't it? The body doesn't know the difference between real stress and imagined stress. When you replay a mistake, your chest tightens as if it's happening again. Your stomach knots, your muscles tense, your energy drains. You live through the same pain over and over, and your body pays the bill every time. That's why regret ages you. It's like living decades inside the same wound. But when you let it fade, when you refuse to keep reliving the cut, the body stops bleeding energy. It starts repairing, rebuilding, renewing. Suddenly, you feel younger, stronger, alive again. Most people don't realize how much energy they've locked up in the past. They think they're just tired from life, tired from age, tired from responsibility. But the truth is, half their exhaustion comes from invisible battles with moments long gone. Regret is like a parasite. It takes and takes, and you never even notice until you're hollow. But when you finally let it go, when you say, "Enough, I won't give you more of me," that energy doesn't disappear. It comes back. It's yours again. The reason people look younger when they let go of regret is simple. They stop living in loss. They stop carrying pain into every day. They stop burning their energy in memories, and they start pouring it into the present. And the present responds. Their laugh gets louder, their step quicker, their eyes brighter. Energy doesn't hide. It shows. And when you have it, the world sees it. Regret keeps you chained to a grave. It makes you live in funerals for things that should have died long ago. But once you stop attending those funerals, once you stop mourning what's already gone, you realize you've got more strength than you thought, more energy than you imagined. Regret doesn't fade on its own. You starve it by refusing to feed it. And when it finally shrivels, the fire that was buried under it roars back, reminding you that you weren't drained by years. You were drained by ghosts. And when the ghosts are gone, all that's left is power. Renewal begins in the mind. You can cut your hair, buy new clothes, start a diet, hit the gym. But if your head is still rotting with the same thoughts, nothing really changes. People chase external fixes because they're easier to measure, easier to show off, easier to disguise with. But the truth is, real change never starts on the outside. It starts in that twisted little space between your ears, where every story about who you are and what you can't do lives. Until that story shifts, Everything else is just a costume. The mind is the engine. If it's poisoned, the machine breaks, no matter how polished the outside looks. That's why some people look tired, no matter how much they sleep. That's why they look aged, even when their body should be fine. Because the mind won't stop dragging them down, feeding them the same tired script: you're too old, too late, too broken. And the body obeys the master it listens to. If the mind says, "You're finished," the body starts shutting down. Wrinkles deepen, steps slow, the light in the eyes dims. Not because of years, but because of commands. Renewal doesn't mean pretending the past didn't happen. It means deciding it doesn't own you anymore. It's rewriting the script in your head, tearing up the chapters that tell you your story is over. That's where it begins. In that decision to stop listening to the voice that keeps you small. Because the moment the mind allows a different thought, maybe I'm not done, maybe I've still got more in me, the body reacts. Energy stirs, muscles respond, fire flickers. That's how renewal creeps back in, not through mirrors, but through beliefs. But here's the trick. The mind doesn't just renew itself once. It has to be trained broken, rebuilt like a wild beast. Left alone, it falls back into decay, into laziness, into regret and fear. Renewal requires attention. It requires you to feed it different fuel. Instead of memories of failure, you feed it visions of possibility. Instead of repeating the same curses, you start whispering new truths. And the more you feed it, the stronger it gets. Renewal isn't magic. It's discipline. You ever notice how some people carry themselves like time doesn't touch them? They've got wrinkles, sure, but they glow. They move like their body hasn't caught up with their age. That's not genetics. It's mindset. Their mind refuses to accept the chains of too late. Their mind refuses to surrender, and that refusal keeps the body alive. That's why you can take two people the same age, and one looks worn out while the other looks unstoppable. The difference is the story they believe in. The mind is a dangerous trickster. It can either bury you or resurrect you. Tell yourself long enough that you're tired, and you will be. Tell yourself long enough that you're powerless, and you'll stop fighting. But tell yourself that you've still got something left, that there's more ahead than behind, and suddenly your body starts finding ways to back you up. Because the mind gives the orders, and the body follows. Renewal isn't some mystery, it's obedience to thought. People keep waiting for life to make them feel new again. A new job, a new lover, a new chance. But if the mind doesn't shift first, those things just become distractions, temporary highs that fade quickly. Renewal doesn't begin when the world changes. It begins when the mind does. When you choose to believe differently about yourself, when you stop carrying the old story and start writing a new one, the entire body, the entire spirit begins to follow. That's the power people underestimate. They chase time. They chase medicine. They chase secrets. But the real fountain of youth sits inside their skull. Renewal begins in the mind because the mind is the root. Heal the root, and the tree grows again. Poison the root, and the tree dies, no matter how much you polish the leaves. The mind is where you're destroyed, and it's where you're reborn. The question is never whether renewal is possible. It's whether you're willing to fight the old voice and feed the new one until it takes over. Funny thing about protection. Most people think it's all about shields, walls, and keeping danger out. But sometimes it's not about hiding behind something safe. Sometimes it's about someone stepping right into the chaos for you. Someone who's not afraid to get their hands dirty, who doesn't flinch when things get loud, who's been carrying the weight, the scars, the weapons, metaphorical or not, long before you even knew you'd need them. And when they show up, they're not here to talk about it. They're here to end it, to stand between you and whatever's coming, locked and loaded in ways you can't even imagine. Protection doesn't always arrive dressed in shining armor with a smile that makes you feel safe. No, sometimes it comes wrapped in shadows, speaking a language you don't quite understand, moving in ways that don't make sense until much later. You expect your help to look like comfort, but sometimes it looks like chaos. Sometimes the one sent to guard you isn't the calm voice in the storm. They are the storm, tearing through anything that dares to get close. And that's the part that unsettles people. They want safety to be quiet, gentle, predictable. But real safety, real protection, is often violent in its nature. It's not built to please you, it's built to shield you. And those are two very different things. When protection comes from unexpected places, you almost never recognize it at first. You question it, you resist it, maybe even push it away. Because in your mind, you've already written the script for how help is supposed to look. You think it should fit your idea of trust. You think it should arrive when you call for it, in the exact package you pictured. But protection isn't concerned with your expectations. It's concerned with your survival. It shows up in the form you need, not the one you prefer. And sometimes the person standing between you and danger is the last person you would have chosen. But there they are, unshaken, watching everything you can't see. Life has a cruel way of revealing that the ones you thought would protect you sometimes vanish the moment trouble comes. The promises dissolve, the words mean nothing. And suddenly you realize you've been standing alone the whole time. That's when the unexpected protector steps in. The one who doesn't owe you anything, who doesn't need a reason, who doesn't ask for your permission. They're not bound to you by blood or friendship or debt. They're bound to you by something else entirely. Maybe it's principle. Maybe it's instinct. Or maybe it's just that they've decided you're worth protecting. And that's enough for them. And here's the thing. You might not even know they're doing it. The best protection isn't always seen, it's felt. It's in the problems that never reach you because they've been handled before you even knew they existed. It's in the dangers you never had to face because someone was already standing in the path. It's in the strange calm you feel in your chest without realizing it's there because someone else is carrying the weight for you. These are the protectors you never thank because you never see their work. They don't advertise what they've done. They don't send you a list of the threats they've stopped. They just keep doing it, silently, consistently, without asking for your applause. But make no mistake, just because protection can be quiet doesn't mean it's weak. The unexpected protectors, they're often the most dangerous ones in the room. They've seen the dark, lived in it, made peace with it. And that's why they're not afraid to go there for you. They don't waste time pretending danger doesn't exist. They know it too well. So they don't hesitate when it appears. They don't freeze. They don't negotiate with it. They end it. That's the difference between the protector you wish for and the one you actually need. One gives you comfort. The other gives you a fighting chance. It's strange, isn't it? You might not trust them in any other part of your life. You might not even like them. But when it comes to keeping you safe, they're unmatched because they're not bound by the rules you follow. They're willing to do the things you wouldn't. They'll cross the lines you'd never dare to step over. And in moments where your safety is on the line, that's exactly what you need. Not someone who plays by the book, but someone who knows when to burn it. And maybe that's why it's so easy to overlook them. They don't fit the role you imagined. They're not the smiling savior, the dependable friend, the clean-cut hero. They're rough edges and unpredictable moves. Someone you might even call dangerous if you didn't understand their purpose. But that's the beauty of it. They don't need you to understand. They're not here for your approval. They're here for your survival. And the fact that they showed up at all, well, that's the part that should make you think strength isn't something you pick up the moment trouble knocks on your door. It's not a last-minute purchase. Not some magic trick you pull out of a hat when things get ugly. No, strength is forged long before the fight begins. It's built in the quiet moments when no one is watching. In the choices you make when it would have been easier to quit. In the discipline to keep going when there's no applause, no reward, no audience. People love to think they'll rise to the occasion when the time comes. But the truth is, you only rise to the level you've been living at all along. The ones who are truly strong don't need to announce it. You can see it in the way they carry themselves, in the way they handle pressure without falling apart, in the way they stay calm when everyone else is spiraling. That kind of strength doesn't happen overnight. It's the result of countless small battles won in private. Every time they faced doubt and pushed through. Every time they felt fear and moved anyway. Every time they stood their ground when it would have been easier to walk away. Those moments stacked up, brick by brick, until they became something unshakable. And that's the thing about real strength. It doesn't shout. It doesn't need to. It speaks for itself when it's needed most. Most people wait until they're in the middle of a storm to decide they want to be strong. But storms don't wait for you to get ready. They don't care if you've been putting it off. When trouble comes, it comes fast, and you either have what it takes or you don't. The time to prepare isn't when the threat is already at your door. It's now, when everything still feels safe, when you still think you have time. That's when the strong ones are training, sharpening, building, so that when the day comes, they're not scrambling. They're ready, and here's what nobody wants to hear. Building strength isn't glamorous. It's not fun most of the time. It's boring, repetitive, uncomfortable. It's waking up earlier than you want to. It's saying no to the things that make you weak. It's pushing your limits until you feel like you've got nothing left, and then doing it again the next day. There's no shortcut, no magic pill, no cheat code. You earn it. You bleed for it. You sacrifice for it. That's why so few people have it. They're not willing to pay the price, but the ones who do. They walk into situations other people would run from, not because they're fearless, But because they've trained themselves to act even when they are strength is also not just about muscle or toughness. It's in the mind, in the heart, in the will. It's the ability to hold your ground when someone's trying to break you down from the inside. It's keeping your head clear when chaos is clawing at your thoughts. It's knowing you can take a hit and still keep moving forward. And that doesn't happen by accident. It's the result of years of choosing the hard way over the easy one, of standing in the fire long enough to get used to the heat. That's why, when someone's truly strong, you can't fake it. You can't pretend your way into it. The truth always shows when pressure hits sometimes. The ones sent to protect you have been building their strength for so long. You can't even imagine the weight they've carried. They've fought battles you'll never hear about. They've endured pain you wouldn't believe. And because of that, they're ready in ways that don't make sense to you, but matter when it counts. That readiness isn't luck. It's the result of all those years in the dark, fighting wars no one clapped for. They weren't building strength for show. They were building it for moments exactly like the one you'll face. When someone needs to step in and hold the line without hesitation. And maybe you've seen this before without realizing it. That person who seems completely unfazed when everything's falling apart. The one who's not panicking, not flinching, not doubting. You think they're just naturally like that, but you're wrong. That calm is earned. That power is earned. And when you see it up close, you realize why they stand out from everyone else. It's because they didn't wait for the fight to prepare for it. They've been ready for a long time. Recognition is a strange little addiction. People crave it, chase it, worship it. They want their name in lights, applause ringing in their ears, a pat on the back for every good deed they do. But the truth, the ones who really make a difference don't have time to stand around fishing for praise. They're too busy doing the work, too busy holding the line, too busy making sure you're safe to bother asking, "Hey, did you see what I did for you?" That's the beauty of a true protector. They don't need the spotlight because they know the real reward is simply doing what needs to be done. It's almost funny watching the way people measure worth by who gets the most credit. But the strongest protectors, they know the scoreboard doesn't matter. The danger doesn't care how popular you are, and the world won't always throw you a parade for stepping up. So they do it anyway. They do it quietly, without fanfare, without clapping hands, because theirs a mission isn't about being remembered. It's about making sure you survive long enough to keep going. They'd rather be invisible than be celebrated, if it means the job gets done. The world doesn't see them when they stay up all night watching over you, when they take the hit that was meant for you, when they bite their tongue instead of telling you just how much they've sacrificed. And that's fine with them. They know that telling the story isn't as important as living it. They don't need to narrate their own heroics, because they're not in it for validation. They're in it for you. And maybe that's why they're so rare, because in a world full of people screaming, "Look at me," they're the ones whispering, "You don't need to look at me, just stay safe." The problem is, most people won't even realize they've been protected until much later. Sometimes never. You go about your day thinking you were lucky, thinking nothing bad happened by chance. You don't see the hands that pushed the danger away, the steps taken to block the path of harm. That's the cruel little joke of it. The better they do their job, the less you notice it was even necessary. And they're fine with that. In fact, they prefer it, because their satisfaction comes from knowing you didn't have to feel the full weight of what could have happened, if you ever do notice them. It's usually in flashes, that look in their eye when they're scanning a room, the way they subtly position themselves between you and something unpredictable, the calm in their voice when they tell you it's going to be fine, even though they've already mapped out 3 different ways to get you out if it's not. It's those small, almost invisible acts that make them who they are. And none of it comes with an announcement. No trumpets, no confetti, no big reveal. Just quiet, relentless readiness recognition in the end is a distraction. The moment you start chasing it, you lose focus on the job that matters. And a true protector can't afford to be distracted. They know danger doesn't wait for you to pose for a picture or write a speech about how brave you are. It strikes fast, without warning, and you have to be faster. That's why they train themselves to be immune to praise. It's a weakness, a soft spot that the wrong moment can exploit. They strip it out of themselves, because the mission is more important than the ego. And here's the part most people can't wrap their heads around. Sometimes the greatest acts of protection are the ones you'll never know about. They're the decisions made in the shadows, the sacrifices that leave no trace, the risks taken without witnesses. They can't tell you about it because if they did, it might undo everything they worked to protect you from. So they keep their mouths shut, their backs straight, and their eyes open. And while you live your life blissfully unaware, they're already thinking about the next threat, the next move, the next moment when they'll have to step in again without you ever realizing just how close you came to losing everything. Preparedness is an odd thing.